Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to Nerd Chat. I'm your host, Steven. Nick's your studio producer in the back, and today I'm joined by Advath Nair.
Hey, what's up?
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Advath is the team captain of Overcharged, a second-year First Tech Challenge robotics team who qualified for the Houston World Championship last year and earned the Finalist Alliance Captain Award. So how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing fine.
So, tell me about your team. How long has your team been in First? Who do you affiliate with, and how did team members meet each other beforehand?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, we are a second-year team in First Tech Challenge. For me personally, this is my sixth and final year in FTC, so it's been a long journey, but I'm still going through it, finally ending it off in my senior year. But as for how I guess the team really works with ourselves and who we affiliate with Spark Technology Education. I'm not sure if you've heard of them, but essentially they're a nonprofit that tries to promote STEM and FIRST. And basically with these two in mind, like with Spark Technology's resources and with our previous experience with Hotwired, which is a world championship team that I personally have been a part of, with all this experience that we had and the resources, we've been able to create a reasonably successful team that I'm pretty proud of leading. So, yeah.
All right. So on the topic of Spark Tech Education, what does the organization do, and what was the inspiration for it?
Yeah, so Spark Tech, it started way back in 2010 or 2011, I believe, and the real inspiration was actually a team called Short Circuits. And basically what they did was they created this nonprofit, and it's really similar to their logos are actually the same, but essentially they were trying to do the same thing, right? Just further STEM and their mission to do FIRST. But on top of that, another thing that Spark Tech has done aside from FTC and FLL that people don't know about is the Science Olympiad competition, if you've ever heard of it. So essentially, I was actually a part of this team for 2 years, but for Stoller Middle School, they've actually helped out by funding it and by helping a lot of members there, going through the training processes with them, using the same knowledge from FTC and FLL all the way to Science Olympiad. And it's been a great success for us because we made it to the national championships one of the years. So Spark Tech has been doing a bunch of great things, and I'm really proud to be a part of them.
Okay. What is the relationship between Revamped, Overcharged, Hotwired, and how do you find ways to collaborate but yet compete with each other?
Yeah, so these are the three Spark Tech teams that most people know about aside from Short Circuits because they were a much older team. But I'll kind of go through this, break it down starting from Hotwired. So for the 4 years, I believe from 2013 season Block Party all the way to Velocity Vortex, 2017, Hotwired has been a team, and I was part of that team as well. And throughout this process, eventually we decided that we needed to disband our team. I was one of the 3 members that initially stayed, but throughout the end of last year's season, I figured out that I was the only member to truly stay on until the very end, right? So with that, we actually decided to split apart into 2 different teams, essentially. One of them was Overcharged and the other one was Revamped. So Overcharged was where all the Hotwired members went to, and Revamped, we've gotten another team member from the Batteries in Black, and he led their team. So we kind of got 2 different directions here, 2 different dynamics, but essentially the way that our teams collaborate with each other is that we work on designs, right? So instead of working on the exact same design at the exact same time, especially during the earlier part of the season, we decide to branch out into different designs, see how they all work out, and from that, let's just say the Revamp builds a design that Overcharge likes, right? Then we might be able to use this and build upon that idea, right? And the same vice versa. But if we both find that one specific design is the way to go, we might just both agree on it and try to find different ways to make it a bit separate, but at the same time also work together and be different. So it's a work in progress still, but yeah, we get to do it at the end.
Okay. Well, as mentioned, Overcharged were Finalist Alliance Captain winners at last year's World Championship. What was your season strategy for making it to that point? For example, how much time did you put in, and what did you spend your time doing?
Yeah, so when it comes to the overalls of the robot, initially we decided that we were going to go for a claw robot, but then we eventually decided to switch to an intake robot after being inspired by 2 different videos that showed really good intakes for the glyphs, right? For a relic recovery, right? And we strongly believed that we need to switch to it. But the issue was that during most of the time, we were focusing on building Revamp's robot, right? Because we wanted to go full force on that one. They decided to do a mechanism drivetrain, and they were the first ones to try the intake robot. But our robot really wasn't the main priority at that point, right? So we had to spend all of our time during Thanksgiving break thinking of different ways we could incorporate an intake with our swerve drive. It's a unique drivetrain that it was really hard to work with, but we spent so much time on it, but it eventually worked. But the entirety of December, I kid you not, 8 hours a day for 2 straight weeks, we decided to work on that robot, and we finally got it done. But that was a major hustle last year. We're not planning on doing the same thing this year. If we're doing a rebuild, we'll try to get it done over a period of time. But as for like the season strategy in general, what we're doing this year is that we're starting off by doing a bunch of prototyping in the first 2 months, right? And we've already started our prototyping phase. We're like reaching the end, but now we're starting to build the final products, which we generally use CNC machinery and like custom milling and like CADing, a whole bunch of like mathematical stuff to make sure everything works and properly. We CAD the whole robot, then we go for it, right? So we are still indeed like prototyping a few more parts, but once we're done with everything, we try to get that all in by like December, January, and then the notebook hustle starts. So go everything on the notebook. Everybody just go write your entries. Got to get everything formatted, then print out like the day before league meet, of course. No, we did that last year, but this year we're trying to do it like a week before, and then judging practices start from there. And there we decided to start with like driver practice and like the other aspects of first like equally. But for the first half of the season, it's mostly robot building and development. And the second half, it's kind of like working on the team portion of FTC. So yeah.
Okay. What was your team's approach to quality assurance and reliability when it comes to the robot?
Yeah, so our team, out of the 2 SparkTech teams that exist right now, we're known for our maintenance skills and how we like maintain a robot properly and like consistently, right? So one problem we had at Worlds actually was our IMU broke, and it was in the middle of a match during autonomous. I believe like, yeah, this happened once and it cost us the match too, because we went into the other side's opposing side, got 40 points and penalties, and that's the reason why we lost the match. But because of this very issue, we decided to step it up this summer even more, because we decided to train our members into all these different things, right? So for every match, we have this tester program that we run to make sure every single component of the robot works, including the IMU, because we don't want that breaking again. And other components of the robot, like the Rev Hub, we make sure everything's plugged in properly, if we have time, of course. Like if there's like back-to-back matches, like in the league meets, then we're gonna have a bit of trouble with that. But we try to maintain as much as we can, as frequently as we can, and we've done like a summer camp in order to do that with all of our members. So it's been turning out really successful so far.
All right. So what sort of funding do you think was necessary for getting to Worlds, and how would you suggest teams get that sort of money?
Yeah, so from our team specifically, I know like most people know this, but we're kind of like an expensive team. We have like a lot of money behind our sides, but what most people don't know is that that money isn't necessary. So we use that money mainly to innovate and to try out new different designs, new different experiments. Like we have these aluminum tubes, they're like really long tubes, right? And we use them, we cut them down, we like mill them, and we try different things with them, especially for like linear slides and lifts. And we bring in these different components. But the real reason why we have all this money and all this funding is to try new things, right? But if you spend a bit of time before the season and if you like go for one design, you might be fine, or like one type of system. Because this year especially, we needed a lot of funding because we switched completely to Actobotics, both teams, instead of Tetrix, which we used last year. And that required a lot of funding. But if a team were to start off with like a solid amount of money, I would say maybe like somewhere between like 10,000 to 20,000. I'm sure they could make it with 2 Worlds, like including all the food and the travel expenses, right? Like as long as they have a pretty solid robot with like one type of system that's consistent, they'd be good off, or like well off, I guess. And also on top of that, if they were to have like different types of like machinery, right, that would be really, really beneficial in getting like precision when it comes to their robot, so they wouldn't have to be wasting any materials there.
Okay. So, what was Worlds like? Did you meet anyone special there, and how was your trip?
Yeah, Worlds was actually a pretty great experience. So this was the first year I went to Worlds as like a leader instead of like just one of the regular members like on Hotwired. And for myself and for all the other members, it was kind of like a unique experience when compared to like my previous years, and of course compared to their like first time going to Worlds, right? And it was kind of great because we got to go around and explore. The first festival at Houston is like absolutely amazing, by the way. Like going to St. Louis for 3 years and then going to Houston the year after, I have to say it's like a pretty big difference, but I really like the Houston one like a lot more. But when it comes to the actual Worlds experience, yeah, there's a lot of teams that you meet. So one of the teams that we met, Redneck Robotics 724, I'm pretty sure you've heard of them. We actually did meet them during Super Regionals, but we met them like again, I guess. And we talked with them a lot more this time because one of the things, if you didn't know about it in Supers, was that our robot actually tipped over, and they were the team that tipped us over. And like it caused a lot of controversy on like a bunch of social media sites and stuff. They're like, hey, how did this happen? Why'd you guys let this go without them getting a yellow card? Because tipping's a yellow card. But we obviously had our little like aggression towards each other. But over time, we got it worked out at Worlds. So it was kind of a great experience to go there because we got to talk to a bunch of teams, and like situations like this were all dissolved. So yeah.
Okay. So how do you hope your team impacts the local community, and what would you like to say to them?
Oh yeah, so in terms of our local community, our team, we try to impact them through Spark Technology education. So we kind of have like a reputation built for ourselves so far, and we try to use that and further ourselves, right? So one of the things we did this summer specifically was the forum, robotics forum that we called it. And essentially, we invited people from the community, and we also invited a bunch of First Tech Challenge teams to come and present their different like findings or different topics that they'd like. For example, like CAD, Notebook, and like programming, etc. All these different things like ready for a rookie team to get ready, or even if it's not really for a rookie team, if like anybody from the community was interested in STEM, it would be for them, right? And these are the kind of high impact outreaches that we try to go for, because we want to see if we can impact the community directly, right? Instead of just going out and like spreading awareness of first, we want to make sure we directly get our mission. We get them to learn first instead of just knowing about it, right? And we were able to successfully do that through outreaches like this. But as for the community, I guess if I were to have any message to you guys, I guess you can feel free to like check out our website. Hopefully you guys will provide a link to it. But we have a bunch of like resources there, especially from robotics, like that like forum that I was talking about. We have a bunch of things regarding that. So if you guys want to check it out too, you guys can go ahead. But there's a bunch of like resources that we had and like other teams too. So yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us, Advith. Next up, we'll be showing one of the Awesome Nerds tutorial videos, so stick around for that.